Mastering threat management. Threat management is stuck in neutral. Where does the organization's overall threat management strategy currently stand in terms of its development and implementation, and how does it align with our operational goals to ensure that we are achieving operational excellence and minimizing risk? As I delved into the world of threat management, I couldn't help but think of the intricacies of human nature and how they impact our decision-making processes. The journey to operational excellence is not just about putting systems in place, but about navigating the complex moral compass that guides our actions. In a recent case, I worked with a company that had just experienced a series of security breaches. The team was in a state of panic, and it was clear that their threat management strategy was in disarray. The CEO, a seasoned leader, was torn between prioritizing security measures and minimizing costs. His dilemma was evident. Should he allocate more resources to fortify their defenses, or risk it and hope for the best? As we sat down to discuss the situation, I couldn't help but think of the emotional toll this was taking on the team. Fear and anxiety were palpable, and it was clear that the moral fabric of the organization was being tested. The CEO's concern for his employees' safety was compounded by his duty to protect the company's assets. To address this, we first needed to establish a clear understanding of the organization's operational goals. We worked together to identify the core objectives, and then aligned the threat management strategy to support these goals. This involved assigning tangible metrics to measure success, and allocating resources accordingly. But here's the thing. Moral judgment is not just about making the right decision, it's about making the right decision quickly. In the face of uncertainty, the CEO's instincts were to err on the side of caution. While this approach may have provided temporary comfort, it would ultimately hinder the company's ability to adapt and respond to emerging threats. To move forward, we needed to create an environment where calculated risks were encouraged and innovative solutions were fostered. This required a shift in mindset, one that recognized the value of experimentation and iteration. By empowering the team to take ownership of their projects, we were able to tap into their collective expertise and creativity. One of the most significant breakthroughs came when we established a culture of transparency and accountability. By making the threat management strategy accessible to all employees, we were able to foster a sense of shared responsibility. This not only improved awareness, but also encouraged proactive behavior. As I looked around the room, I saw a team that was no longer paralyzed by fear, but energized by a sense of purpose. The CEO's initial concerns had given way to a newfound confidence, one that was rooted in the knowledge that his team was equipped to handle any threat that came their way. Throughout this journey, I was struck by the importance of balancing competing priorities. In the pursuit of operational excellence, it's easy to get caught up in the minutiae of process and procedure. But the truth is, true excellence can only be achieved when we acknowledge the human element. By recognizing the role that moral judgment plays in our decision-making, we can create an environment where ethics and morality are woven into the fabric of our operations. As I reflect on this experience, I am reminded of the importance of remaining agile in the face of uncertainty. Threat management is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process that requires continuous evaluation and refinement. By embracing this reality, we can create a culture that is not only resilient but jugaad, capable of adapting and thriving in the face of adversity. In the end, the company's threat management strategy was transformed, but more importantly, so was the way they approached decision-making. They learned that operational excellence is not just about achieving perfection, but about cultivating a culture of courage, creativity, and moral clarity. To achieve operational excellence in threat management, it is essential to develop and implement a comprehensive threat management strategy that aligns with the organization's operational goals. The strategy should be tailored to address the unique risks and threats faced by the organization, while also ensuring that it is scalable, flexible, and adaptable to changing circumstances. Firstly, the organization should conduct a thorough risk assessment to identify potential threats and vulnerabilities. This assessment should consider both internal and external factors, such as personnel, physical assets, intellectual property, and reputation. The risk assessment should also evaluate the likelihood and potential impact of each identified threat and prioritize those that pose the most significant risk to the organization. Once the risks have been identified and prioritized, the organization should develop a threat management strategy that outlines the actions to be taken to mitigate or eliminate each threat. The strategy should be based on industry best practices and regulatory requirements, and should include clear roles and responsibilities, communication protocols, and decision-making processes. The threat management strategy should also include an incident response plan that outlines the procedures to be followed in the event of a threat incident. The incident response plan should be regularly tested and updated to ensure that it remains effective and relevant. To ensure operational excellence, the organization should establish a threat management framework that provides a structured approach to identifying, assessing, and responding to threats. The framework should include clear policies, procedures, and standards, as well as a governance structure that assigns accountability and oversight responsibilities. The organization should also establish a threat intelligence program that provides real-time threat information and analysis to support informed decision-making. The threat intelligence program should include threat monitoring, threat analysis, and threat prediction capabilities, and should be integrated with other security systems and tools. To minimize risk, the organization should implement a range of threat mitigation measures, including physical security controls, cybersecurity controls, and personnel security controls. These measures should be designed to prevent, detect, and respond to threats, and should be regularly reviewed and updated to ensure that they remain effective. The organization should also establish a culture of threat awareness and reporting, where employees are encouraged to report suspicious activity or potential threats. This can be achieved through training and awareness programs, as well as through the establishment of a threat reporting mechanism that allows employees to report threats anonymously. To ensure that the threat management strategy is aligned with operational goals, the organization should establish key performance indicators, KPIs, that measure the effectiveness of the strategy. The KPIs should be regularly reviewed and updated, and should be used to identify areas for improvement and optimize threat management resources. Finally, the organization should establish a continuous improvement process that reviews and updates the threat management strategy on a regular basis. The continuous improvement process should include lessons learned from threat incidents, changes in the threat landscape, and new technologies and techniques. In terms of implementation, the organization should establish a project plan that outlines the tasks, timelines, and resources required to develop and implement the threat management strategy. The project plan should include clear milestones and deliverables, and should be regularly reviewed and updated to ensure that the strategy is on track for implementation. The organization should also establish a budget for threat management that is sufficient to support the implementation of the strategy. The budget should include funding for personnel, technology, and training, as well as funding for incident response and threat management activities. In conclusion, achieving operational excellence in threat management requires a comprehensive strategy that addresses the unique risks and threats faced by the organization. The strategy should be tailored to the organization's operational goals and should include a thorough risk assessment, a threat management framework, a threat intelligence program, threat mitigation measures, a culture of threat awareness and reporting, and a continuous improvement process. With the right strategy and implementation plan in place, the organization can minimize risk and achieve operational excellence in threat management.